About a month ago, I attempted to drive a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle from Pennsylvania to Georgia. I was feeling really good. I had a co-driver. I felt really prepared with extra tools, equipment, parts, etc. And then everything went wrong.
No brakes. Absolutely no brakes. We learn.
Into our journey drive, we ended up losing brakes 4 times. And when I say losing brakes, I mean we had no brakes, no e-brake, no pressure in the pedal, nothing, straight to the floor. I ended up having to go off-road to avoid hitting cars, ran through multiple intersections, red lights, stop signs. I'm sorry guys, I didn't mean to break the law, but I was also trying to not die. Okay?
You're gonna drive it to your fucking new favorite parts store.
Yeah, the AutoZone.
Look at this shit.
After bleeding the brakes, adjusting the shoes, and trying a few other quirks and kinks to get our brakes functioning again, it ultimately became aware to us that we needed to replace our brake master cylinder. Unfortunately, because of our limited time frame we had to get back to Georgia, the time of day and where we were in Pennsylvania, we simply could not get our hands on a master cylinder in time. So we ended up trailering the Beetle back to Georgia. Left me feeling very defeated, okay? Long story short, we got the Beetle back to Georgia, began a process to start replacing the brake master cylinder, which by the way, I personally have done in this car before, so I knew what I was getting into, but here, yet again, everything went wrong.
So before we really get into it, there's a funny audio clip coming up where we were talking about recording everything, and this is what Earl had to say.
You missed things like you driving through the screen without brakes.
No, literally.
So this was in reference to us not filming the entire time and missing some really funny parts. Anyway, you're watching me remove an old brake hose, so we'll get into that and then I'll pop back in later.
Did it go off? Did it break?
I don't know. Sick, bro. Okay, sweet. Oh yeah.
Once you remove the old brake hose, it's really as easy as just putting the new one back in. Super straightforward process. Now let's get into the brake master cylinder.
Well, no, honestly, I'll tell you actually why.
Are you sure it's on the...
Yeah, what's left?
Definitely want to take the front wheel off in order to be able to get to the master cylinder with easy access and pull it out because it's a little tedious to do so.
I was holding it with one arm and pulling it.
Once you remove all the hoses from the master cylinder under the wheel well, then you actually need to go inside the car to get behind the brake pedal. One thing that I'll tell you to save you some time that I had to learn after some trial and error is that these bolts actually go lefty-tighty, righty-loosey, so you need to do it inverse of what you might initially think. Also, how I looked in the angle to get in behind this was hysterical and it is kind of annoying, so just heads up on that. It's a tight space. Now I got the old master cylinder out and time to replace it with
You know what?
At this point, we're going to switch over all of the old parts to the new parts, put in the new brake master cylinder, and now we need to bleed the brakes to start gaining some pressure back. You also are going to be priming the new master cylinder at this point, so there's a little bit of a process that you have to follow. You want to make sure you have enough brake fluid in there so you can be pushing things through. But at this point, heads up, just spoiler alert, we started noticing some issues. Now, I am not the strongest with bleeding brakes, so I thought I was just making a mistake, but turns out there were many more issues to come. Then I switched places to make sure it wasn't just me messing it up, and now let's get into it.
Getting back to Georgia and replacing the brake master cylinder along with some brake lines and hoses, we really started noticing that the car itself was not holding any pressure. Once again, we had no fluid being pumped through. It was just as if the pedal was going straight to the floor, and even though we had just replaced the master cylinder. Now with this, we spent over 6 hours in the garage that first night trying to diagnose and troubleshoot what was going on. Luckily, Earl is like basically a master mechanic at this point. He has so much experience with these cars, so we're going through everything. And here I am, yet again, feeling just immensely defeated. After spending so much time in the garage and not finding any solution or steps toward productivity, we ended up calling it that night. And then I went out of town for a couple weeks for some work trips and so on. While I was out of town, Earl the superhero stepped in and proceeded to continue troubleshooting, continue trying to diagnose and working through trial and error on what could be wrong with the car and its brakes. I'm gonna insert here what he ended up diagnosing, how he got there, and kind of the current state as it was just a couple days ago. So now we enter our second night of us working on it together, where at this point, now I needed to replace a drum brake wheel cylinder and then re-bleed all the brakes and adjust the shoes since they had been messed with so much over the weeks prior.
Alrighty, so we are replacing a drum brake wheel cylinder. This actually ended up being a very straightforward process, which I was thrilled about. You're obviously gonna take your wheel off, then you're gonna remove the drum itself, and then we're getting into those internal components. We're gonna pull and remove our return spring. Yeah! After you remove the return spring, now we're gonna go into the back side, and there are 3 bolts that hold this together. So you're gonna remove one of the bolts connected to a brake hose, and then remove the other 2, and you'll be able to get it disconnected.
This is gonna come out, right? Oh, okay, there it is. Never mind. I'm just freaking spinning in circles. Yes, okay.
At this point, there shouldn't be a ton of brake fluid that's coming out, but as you can see, there is a slow drip. So just prepare for that and have some cleanup ready.
I'm not jinxing it. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say,
Things are currently happening.
Oh, shit.
No. Oh shit, alright. Okay, sick! Big guns! Wait, oh, just put it back. That's it? That's literally it?
Literally.
There's no other weird thing we have to adjust. Alright, I'm not gonna get excited.
I really hope it just goes right in.
Yeah, me too.
These shoes go into these slots. Okay, fun fact, these aren't even. Can these adjust? Yeah, they can. Don't even bother. All right. Okay. You just heard me say it, but you're basically going to put this back together like Legos inverse, okay? So you're gonna add the new wheel cylinder, connect the brake hose onto the back, and retighten the bolts. The only other thing to be aware of is making sure that where your shoes line up into the wheel cylinder are actually connected and aligned. So we'll get into it more, but just know that it's pretty much straightforward, just doing inverse of what you did to take it out at this point. Well,
See, you know me pretty well this way. How often am I like, like never.
wait, but I did it. After you replace all of the components back, I would encourage you to go through with brake clean and give this a really good once over to just make sure there's no plaque buildup or debris that can cause damage in the future. Then you're gonna replace the wheel drum itself. When you're doing this, make sure that you're being cautious, because what I had to learn and notice here is it wasn't quite going on, and the shoes behind it need to be as aligned and centered as they can be. So you'll see me pull the drum back off and then try to move the shoes, and then the drum itself slips right back on. So definitely this is not an area where you want to use brunt force. We use that other times, but not now. Prevent damage by making sure those shoes are straight, and then the drum should slip right back on. Okay, so after we put the wheel nut back on, now it's time to adjust the wheels with, guess what? The adjusters. To me, this felt so archaic at first, but it is actually the most ingenious and easy process to do, like for its system. So really, you're just gonna tighten. These adjusters go in opposite directions, and then what you'll see here, I'm literally gonna hammer the front of the drum to see if there's any movement, loosen the adjusters, and then we'll repeat this process until there's no more movement and it's tight. How many times?
Until it stops working.
Oh. Yeah? Yeah, hell yeah. Okay. Sickety sick. Okay. Stop. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Hell yeah. Okay, sick. All right, go ahead. So as you can see, now we're going to bleed the brakes, and we're gonna do this across all of the wheels because we've made so many changes over the past few weeks, and immediately we started noticing pressure coming in. We started seeing quick flow and no air bubbles. This is a super big win for us, but now you'll just get to watch me bleed all the brakes.
All right, hold. All right, Nikki, pump them. Sick, sick, sick. Okay, you can release.
Yay!
After putting all the wheels back on and bleeding all the brakes, it's time to adjust them one more time to make sure that they're all set and secure. Now it's time to tighten and torque everything. This Beetle is crazy because its torque spec is 217 pounds, which feels astronomical, but your girl did it.
Oh my god!
Get your hammer over there.
I do have a hammer. I'm not gonna lie to you, at this point, I really needed a win, and luckily, we got it.
Break.
Yeah! After a relatively short evening in the garage, just about 2.5 hours bleeding all of the brakes, replacing the wheel cylinder, and just generally going through a one-over of the rest of the brake system, we ended up getting the brakes to work. Everything is engaged. We were able to take it out on a test drive, and the brakes work so well that I was able to brake check girl. So I'll take that as a win, and I'm so pumped to be able to, again, have resources, have mentors, have people in my system and community that can help me figure out these problems when I don't know what's going on, because I am still learning. And while I've owned this car for a couple of years now and have now a second air-cooled car, there are always things that I'm gonna come across that I haven't experienced before. I definitely took a lot away from this journey, and I'm really looking forward to future endeavors in the Beetle and others, so stay tuned because there's definitely more to come for the Beetle build and for an air-cooled journey that's underway.